Most people think fermentation is a trend, a modern health obsession. Something Instagram made popular, something you buy in glass jars from the organic section, because it sounds sophisticated. But that assumption is backward. Fermentation isn't new. It isn't trendy. It isn't some wellness invention dreamed up by Silicon Valley nutritionists. Fermentation is what kept entire civilizations alive. It's what prevented scurvy during brutal winters. It's what made food safe in a world without refrigeration. It's what gave traditional cultures access to nutrients that their bodies couldn't access any other way. And here's what modern science is only now confirming. Those ancient people understood something about human biology that we forgot the moment we invented the refrigerator. Your gut is not just a place where food gets broken down. It's a living ecosystem, an organ more complex than your brain in some ways. And the bacteria living inside it, trillions of them, they don't just affect your digestion. They affect your immune system, your mood, your metabolism, your ability to fight inflammation, your energy levels, your skin, the speed at which your body ages. Most people are destroying this ecosystem every single day with processed food, antibiotics, and stress. And then they wonder why they feel exhausted, bloated, or sick. But what if the answer has been sitting in kitchens and gardens for thousands of years? Today, we're breaking down 15 fermented foods that will completely change how your body functions. Some of them you've probably heard of. Others are sitting in your kitchen right now, and you have no idea what they're capable of. By the time we reach number 3, you'll understand why ancient cultures didn't just eat fermented foods, they depended on them. And by the time we finish, you'll see why modern medicine is slowly catching up to what grandmothers already knew. This is not about trends. This is about biology. This is about remembering. Let's begin. Understanding why fermentation changes everything. Before we move through these foods, you need to understand what's actually happening when food ferments. Because most people think fermentation is just about preservation. They're only seeing the surface. What's really happening is a transformation. When food ferments, beneficial bacteria and wild yeasts consume the sugars and starches in that food. In the process, they create something entirely new. They break down complex molecules into simpler forms. They create short-chain fatty acids. They produce enzymes. They create vitamins that weren't there before. They neutralize anti-nutrients that block your body from absorbing minerals. This process takes food that your body would struggle with and converts it into medicine. Traditional cultures didn't ferment food because they were being fancy. They did it because fermentation solved problems. It made food last longer without spoiling. It made food more digestible. It increased nutrient availability. It kept people healthy through seasons when fresh food didn't exist. Modern science now understands why this worked. When you eat fermented food, you're not just getting the nutrients in that food, you're getting living beneficial bacteria. You're getting enzymes. You're getting metabolites produced during fermentation that directly support your immune system, reduce inflammation, and heal the lining of your digestive tract. Your gut barrier, the lining of your intestines, is like a security system. When it's healthy, it only lets nutrients pass through. When it's damaged, everything passes through. Your immune system gets triggered constantly, your brain gets inflamed, your body attacks itself. Fermented foods rebuild that barrier. They feed the good bacteria. They create an environment where your body can actually heal. This is why what comes next matters so much. Sauerkraut, the cellular protector. Sauerkraut looks simple. Shredded cabbage, salt, thyme. That's it. But what happens inside that jar over weeks is a complete biological revolution. Most people think of sauerkraut as a condiment, something you eat a tiny bit of on a hot dog. But traditional cultures, particularly in Northern and Eastern Europe, in Russia, in Germany, in Poland, treated sauerkraut as a staple. Families made it in enormous quantities every autumn. They fermented cabbage in wooden barrels that would feed them all winter. It wasn't a side dish. It was survival. The reason was simple: vitamin C. When fresh produce disappeared in winter, sauerkraut was one of the few foods that still contained vitamin C. Sailors knew this. Military commanders knew this. That's why sailors who ate fermented cabbage didn't develop scurvy, while sailors on other ships got sick and died. The vitamin C in fermented cabbage was stable. It didn't break down like it does in cooked food. It lasted months. But here's where it gets more interesting. Cabbage is a cruciferous vegetable, which means it contains compounds called glucosinolates. Your body converts these into isothiocyanates, powerful molecules that activate your cell's natural defense systems. They tell your cells to clean up damaged proteins. They support your natural detoxification pathways. They reduce the risk of cellular mutation. Fermentation amplifies this. The bacterial process increases the bioavailability of these protective compounds, meaning your body can actually absorb and use them more effectively than it could from raw cabbage. And then there's the bacteria itself. When you eat a spoonful of living sauerkraut, you're introducing lactobacillus and other beneficial organisms directly into your digestive system. These bacteria don't just pass through. They colonize your gut. They produce something called butyrate, a short-chain fatty acid that feeds the cells lining your intestines. It's literally the fuel that keeps your gut barrier intact. Studies have shown that people who regularly consume fermented cabbage show markers of reduced inflammation throughout their entire body. Their blood sugar is more stable. Their immune response is faster and more appropriate. The traditional preparation matters. Real sauerkraut is cabbage plus salt. That's all. Not vinegar, not heated, not pasteurized. Living, raw, fermented cabbage. A small amount, a tablespoon or two with meals, dramatically shifts the bacterial diversity in your gut within weeks. Kimchi, the metabolic amplifier. Kimchi is sauerkraut's cousin, but it's playing a completely different game. Where sauerkraut is simple and austere, kimchi is complex, intense, layered. In Korean culture, kimchi isn't just food. It's medicine, ritual, and sustenance combined. Families have specific kimchi recipes passed down through generations. The process matters. The ingredients matter. Different seasons get different variations. Spring kimchi is different from winter kimchi because the cabbage is different. And while fermented cabbage is protective, kimchi adds something more. Garlic, ginger, chili peppers. These aren't just flavor. They're functional ingredients that have been studied independently for decades, and they do something specific in your body. Garlic contains allicin, a compound created when garlic is cut or fermented. Allicin has documented antimicrobial properties. It supports your immune system. It reduces inflammation markers in your blood. It helps your body manage blood pressure and cholesterol more effectively. Ginger contains gingerols and shogols, compounds that reduce nausea, support digestion, and decrease inflammatory markers in your joints and throughout your body. And the chili peppers? They contain capsaicin. It triggers heat shock proteins in your cells. It increases your metabolic rate slightly. It reduces pain signals. It supports circulation. But here's the thing. When these ingredients ferment together, something happens that doesn't happen when you eat them raw or cooked. The fermentation process creates new compounds called phenolic compounds. These are powerful antioxidants. They're also produced by the bacteria during fermentation as a byproduct of their own metabolism. You get the original nutrients plus the new compounds created during fermentation, plus the live bacteria themselves. Studies from South Korea have shown that regular kimchi consumption correlates with better metabolic markers, improved immune response during cold and flu season, and notably better cardiovascular health markers. The key is that it's living, unpasteurized. The bacteria are still alive. Most kimchi you buy at the grocery store has been heat-treated to kill the bacteria so it lasts longer on the shelf. But that's the entire point of eating it. You want those living bacteria. That's where the healing happens. Miso, the umami healer. Miso is where fermentation becomes sophisticated. For over 2,000 years, miso has been the foundation of Japanese cuisine. But it's not treated casually. Miso production is an art, a discipline. Different regions have different styles. Different fermentation times create different flavors and different nutrient profiles. Miso starts as soybeans, or sometimes chickpeas or other legumes. The beans are cooked, then mixed with koji, a specific type of mold, and salt. Then it ferments, sometimes for months, sometimes for years. This process does something remarkable. Soybeans are a complete protein, which is valuable, but they also contain compounds that block mineral absorption. Raw or lightly cooked soybeans actually interfere with your body's ability to absorb iron, zinc, and calcium. Fermentation solves this problem completely. The koji and the bacteria break down these mineral-blocking compounds. They also break down the proteins in the soybeans into amino acids. By the time miso is ready to eat, it's pre-digested in a way. Your body doesn't have to work hard to break it down. The nutrients are already bioavailable. Miso also produces something called nattokinase during fermentation, an enzyme that has been studied for its ability to support cardiovascular health by promoting healthy blood flow. But what makes miso truly special is something more subtle. When you eat miso, you're not eating a large quantity of it. You dissolve a spoonful in warm water. You use it in soups. You use it as a flavoring. It's concentrated, intense. A little goes a long way. This means you're getting a massive dose of umami, the taste that comes from glutamates, which are amino acids. Umami triggers a specific response in your brain. It activates your parasympathetic nervous system, your relaxation response. It tells your body that good nutrition is coming. It literally shifts your physiology toward digestion and healing rather than stress. Traditional cultures understood this intuitively. Meals that began with miso soup were meals where the entire nervous system was prepared to digest optimally. Tempeh, the complete protein transformer. Tempeh is fermentation applied to whole beans, and it's one of the most underrated protein sources in the world. In Indonesia, tempeh has been a staple for centuries. While tofu gets the attention in the West, tempeh is the real nutritional powerhouse. Tempeh is whole soybeans bound together with koji and fermentation. Unlike tofu, which is processed into a smooth curd, tempeh retains the whole bean. This means the fiber is still there. The nutrients are still there, and because it's fermented, everything is more accessible. Here's what makes tempeh special. It's a complete protein. All 9 essential amino acids are present. But more than that, tempeh contains all the B vitamins, including B12, which is rare in plant foods. It contains iron, it contains manganese, it contains copper, but again, fermentation is the key that unlocks everything. The fermentation process increases the bioavailability of these nutrients. It breaks down the phytic acid that would otherwise block mineral absorption. It creates a texture that's easier to digest than whole beans. It creates new compounds during fermentation that support your microbiome. Tempeh also has a subtle advantage. It's less processed than other plant proteins. You could grow soybeans, ferment them with koji, and have tempeh. You could do this without industrial equipment, without chemicals, without the processing required to make tofu or isolate protein powders. Traditional use was simple. You sliced it. You pan-fried it. You added it to dishes. The fermentation meant it had a deeper flavor, almost nutty, compared to plain tofu. What's remarkable is that tempeh supports muscle recovery and growth just as effectively as animal protein, but with the added benefit of the fermentation, all the living enzymes and beneficial compounds. Rejuvelac, the liquid reset. Rejuvelac is something most modern people have never heard of, but it's something ancient cultures made instinctively. It's sprouted grain juice, barley or wheat or spelt that's been sprouted for a few days, then pressed into juice. The fermentation isn't as long as other foods on this list. It's faster. But what happens is profound. When a grain sprouts, it wakes up. The seed thinks it's time to grow into a plant. Enzymes activate. Nutrients mobilize. The grain becomes more alive. Then, within hours or days, wild fermentation begins. Natural bacteria and yeasts colonize the juice. They create vitamins, they create enzymes. They create compounds that your digestive system recognizes as healing signals. Traditional cultures didn't call it Rejuvelac, but they made similar things. Fresh grain juices, sprouted grain porridges. They understood that sprouting made grains more nutritious and more digestible. What Rejuvelac does is deliver concentrated enzymes directly to your gut. These enzymes support digestion, they support nutrient absorption, they reduce inflammation in your intestinal tract. It's intense. A small shot, a few ounces, is powerful. Some people feel it immediately. A sense of calm in their digestive system, more energy, clearer thinking, better sleep that night. This is because the enzymes and the fermentation byproducts are signaling to your body that repair is happening. Kvass, the ancient probiotic beverage. Kvass is a fermented beverage that's been made in Russia, Ukraine, and Eastern Europe for over 1,000 years. It's made from rye bread. Dark, dense rye bread is fermented with water, herbs, and spices for days. The result is a beverage that's slightly carbonated, complex in flavor, and packed with living bacteria. Most modern people have never tried it. But if you had lived in Eastern Europe 2 centuries ago, kvass would have been a daily drink. It was safer than water because fermentation preserved it. It was more nourishing than water because it contained the nutrients extracted from the bread and herbs. It was cheaper than beer, so even poor people drank it. Kvass is functionally a probiotic beverage, but it's been around for centuries, long before the word probiotic existed. The fermentation of rye bread creates specific bacteria and beneficial yeasts. These organisms produce B vitamins during fermentation. They produce acids that preserve the beverage. They create metabolites that support your digestive system. What's remarkable is that kvass is the gentlest entry point for people who are new to fermented foods. It's not as intense as sauerkraut. It's not as strong as kimchi. It's a beverage. You drink it like you drink juice or water, yet it delivers all the benefits: living bacteria, enzymes, B vitamins, and organic acids that support your digestive system and overall health. The beauty of kvass is that it's simple to make. You can make it at home with just a few ingredients. The fermentation happens naturally. You don't need special equipment or exotic ingredients. Water kefir, the probiotic without dairy. Kefir gets a lot of attention, but most of the kefir people drink is dairy-based, which is fine for some people, but not for everyone. Water kefir is different. It's made by fermenting water kefir grains, a specific type of probiotic culture in sugar water. The grains consume most of the sugar, and what remains is a fizzy, slightly sweet beverage packed with beneficial bacteria and yeasts. Water kefir contains over 30 different strains of beneficial bacteria. That diversity is important. Your gut thrives on diversity. The more different types of beneficial bacteria you have, the more resilient your microbiome becomes. Kefir, whether dairy or water-based, also contains something called kefiran, a polysaccharide that has been studied for its ability to support immune function and reduce inflammatory markers in your body. The fermentation also produces high levels of B vitamins, which are critical for energy production, mood regulation, and nervous system function. What makes water kefir particularly valuable is that it's accessible to people who can't tolerate dairy, but who still want the benefits of fermentation and probiotics. The key, again, is that it's living. The bacteria are alive. They're actively producing metabolites as you drink it. You're not just getting nutrition, you're getting a living food that interacts with your biology. Kombucha, the detoxification support. Kombucha has become trendy, which has actually obscured what it really is. Kombucha is fermented tea. Sweet tea fermented with a living culture called a SCOBY, a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. The fermentation takes a few days to a week, depending on temperature and taste preference. The bacteria and yeast consume the sugar and the caffeine in the tea and they produce acids, B vitamins, and other compounds. What makes kombucha particularly interesting is what happens during fermentation to the polyphenols in the tea. Tea, whether black, green, or white, contains polyphenols. These are powerful antioxidants, but polyphenols are often difficult for your body to absorb in their original form. Fermentation changes this. The bacteria and yeast modify the polyphenols, making them more bioavailable. They also create new compounds called metabolites that weren't in the original tea. These metabolites have been shown to support liver function and healthy detoxification pathways. Kombucha also contains beneficial acids, like glucaric acid, which supports your body's phase 2 detoxification, the process where your liver prepares toxins to be eliminated. The living bacteria in kombucha also establish themselves in your gut, which means you're getting probiotic benefits, similar to other fermented foods. The key is that the kombucha needs to be unpasteurized and unheated to retain these benefits. Yogurt, the ancient dairy transformer. Yogurt is the fermented food everyone's heard of, but most yogurt sold in supermarkets is not what yogurt has been for thousands of years. Real yogurt, the kind that's been made in the Caucasus region, in the Middle East, in Central Asia for millennia, is milk fermented with specific bacterial cultures, until the lactose is broken down and the milk proteins are transformed into something new. The fermentation does several things. First, it breaks down lactose. People who are sensitive to lactose can often tolerate yogurt because the bacteria have already broken down that sugar. Your digestive system doesn't have to work as hard. Second, it breaks down the milk proteins into smaller peptides and amino acids. This makes the protein more bioavailable. Third, the bacteria produce lactic acid, which creates an acidic environment that kills pathogens and preserves the food. But here's what's critical. The bacteria don't just disappear after fermentation. If the yogurt is unpasteurized and living, those bacteria are still there, still alive. They colonize your gut. They produce short-chain fatty acids. They support your immune system. The problem is that most commercial yogurt is heat-treated after fermentation to kill the bacteria and extend shelf life. The yogurt still has the protein benefits, but you lose the probiotic benefits. Real yogurt, the kind that's alive, is a different food entirely. It's creamy. The texture comes from the bacterial fermentation, not from added gums or starches. It tastes tangier because of the natural acids produced by the bacteria, and it heals your gut in ways that dead yogurt cannot. Cheese. The fermentation deepened. Cheese is fermentation taken to its extreme. Most people think of cheese as just dairy protein, but cheese is actually one of the most sophisticated fermented foods humans have ever created. Different cheeses ferment for different lengths of time. A fresh cheese like mozzarella might ferment for hours. An aged cheese like Parmigiano Reggiano ferments for years. During fermentation, bacteria and enzymes break down the milk proteins and fats into simpler compounds. Lactose is consumed. New flavors develop. The cheese becomes more concentrated, more complex, more intense. What's remarkable is what happens to the amino acids during fermentation. One specific amino acid, histamine, increases during cheese aging. This matters because histamine plays a role in your immune response, in blood vessel dilation, in nervous system function. Some people are sensitive to histamine, so aged cheeses aren't ideal for them. But most people benefit from the histamine produced during fermentation. It supports healthy inflammatory responses. Aged cheeses also accumulate something called bioactive peptides, fragments of broken down proteins that have specific biological functions. Some of these peptides support cardiovascular health. Some support immune function. Some support inflammation management. The bacteria in cheese also produce vitamin K2, which is critical for bone health and cardiovascular health. K2 is rare in foods, but fermented dairy is one of the best sources. And of course, there are the beneficial bacteria and their metabolites. Real cheese made with living cultures, without excessive heat treatment, without artificial ingredients, is a medicine disguised as food. Apple cider vinegar, the metabolic catalyst. Apple cider vinegar has become trendy recently, but the traditional version is something entirely different from what most people are drinking. Real apple cider vinegar is made by fermenting apple cider for months. The apples are pressed. The juice ferments. First, wild yeasts convert the sugar into alcohol. Then, bacteria convert the alcohol into acetic acid. The result is a complex liquid with deep brown color and a smell that's simultaneously sour and slightly sweet. This fermentation process creates something powerful. The acetic acid in apple cider vinegar has been studied extensively. It appears to support healthy blood sugar regulation by slowing the rate at which carbohydrates are digested. It supports healthy cholesterol levels. It supports healthy weight management. But beyond the acetic acid, there are the polyphenols from the apples themselves, which are preserved during fermentation. There's the mother, the cloudy substance at the bottom of real apple cider vinegar, which contains beneficial bacteria and enzymes. When you consume a small amount of apple cider vinegar before meals, you're literally changing how your digestive system processes food. You're signaling to your stomach that acidic food is coming, so it prepares its own acid production. You're slowing sugar absorption, which means steadier blood sugar and more stable energy throughout the day. The traditional use was simple: a spoonful of apple cider vinegar and water before meals. nothing fancy. But the effects were profound over time. What's critical is that it's unpasteurized and unfiltered. The mother is still present. Natto, the enzyme powerhouse. Natto is fermented soybeans, but it's something entirely different from tempeh or miso. In Japan, natto has been eaten for over 1,000 years, but it's an acquired taste. The smell is strong, the texture is sticky and slimy. Most Westerners find it off-putting at first. But here's what's happening. The soybeans are being fermented with a specific bacteria called Bacillus subtilis. This fermentation creates something called nattokinase. Nattokinase is an enzyme that has been extensively studied for its ability to support cardiovascular health. It appears to support healthy blood flow by helping prevent the accumulation of fibrin, a protein that contributes to blood clots. Studies from Japan have shown that people who regularly consume natto have markers of better cardiovascular health. The enzyme appears to work by supporting your body's natural fibrinolytic system, the system that keeps your blood flowing freely. What's remarkable is that nattokinase only appears during fermentation with Bacillus subtilis. You don't get it from cooking soybeans. You don't get it from other soybean products. Natto also contains high levels of vitamin K2, which we mentioned in the cheese section. K2 is critical for bone health and cardiovascular health. And the live bacteria themselves colonize your gut, providing all the benefits of probiotics. The traditional way to eat natto is simple: over rice with a raw egg and soy sauce. You mix it thoroughly until it's sticky and foamy, and you eat it. The fermentation means it's completely safe to eat raw. The bacteria have already made it safe. It's not pleasant for everyone, but for those who can acquire the taste, natto is one of the most powerful functional foods available. Amazake, the ancient energy elixir. Amazake has been made in Japan for centuries, and it's something few modern people outside of Japan have ever encountered. Amazake is fermented rice. Cooked rice is fermented with koji, the same mold used in miso, for a day or so. The koji enzymes break down the starch in the rice into simple sugars. The result is a sweet, creamy beverage that tastes almost like rice pudding. Here's what's remarkable. Amazake is naturally sweet from the starches breaking down, but it contains virtually no added sugar. It's pre-digested. Your body doesn't have to work hard to break down the carbohydrates. This means your blood sugar remains stable. You get energy without the spike and crash that comes from refined sugars. Amazake also contains B vitamins produced during fermentation. It contains beneficial bacteria and enzymes. But there's something even more interesting about amazake. It's one of the oldest documented energy foods. Before modern sports drinks existed, athletes drank amazake before competitions. Warriors drank it before battles. Farmers drank it during harvest season when they were working long hours. The reason is simple. It provides stable energy. The pre-digested carbohydrates are absorbed slowly and steadily. The B vitamins support energy production at the cellular level. The fermentation also creates compounds that support your nervous system. Many traditional amazake recipes include koji that's been fermented with specific herbs that support calm focus. The beauty of amazake is that it's gentle. It's accessible. You can drink it cold or warm. You can add it to other dishes. A small cup provides sustained energy for hours. Rejuvelac with living enzymes. We touched on Rejuvelac earlier, but we need to go deeper. Because Rejuvelac isn't just a beverage. It's something closer to medicine. When grains sprout, enzymes activate. Amylase begins breaking down starches. Protease begins breaking down proteins. Lipase begins breaking down fats. These enzymes exist in the grain naturally. They're what would power the plant's growth if the grain were planted in soil. But when you harvest the sprout at a specific point and press it into juice, you're capturing this enzyme activity in concentrated form. Then fermentation happens. Wild bacteria and yeasts colonize the juice. They consume any remaining sugars and create new compounds. What you end up with is a liquid that's packed with active enzymes that can actually assist your digestive process. Living beneficial bacteria that colonize your gut. B vitamins and other nutrients that have been liberated from the grain by sprouting. Chlorophyll from the sprouted grain, which has anti-inflammatory and detoxifying properties. Compounds that signal to your cells that repair is happening. The effect is immediate for many people. Some report feeling lighter after drinking it. Some report better digestion for days afterward. Some report improved energy and clarity. This isn't placebo. Your cells are actually receiving signals that support healing and repair. Traditional cultures understood this intuitively, even if they didn't understand the molecular mechanisms. They made sprouted grain foods during times of stress, illness, or recovery. Naturally fermented vegetables. The microbiome revolution. We're finishing with the most foundational fermented food. Vegetables fermented the old way. Not just sauerkraut, not just kimchi, but the simple act of fermenting whatever vegetables are available using salt, water, and time. This is how fermentation actually worked for thousands of years. A farmer would harvest vegetables at the end of the season. They would chop them, they would pack them in a vessel with salt, they would press them under their own weight, they would cover them and leave them in a cool place. Within days, fermentation would begin. The salt would draw out the vegetable's juices. Naturally present bacteria would begin to proliferate. Lactobacillus and other beneficial organisms would transform the vegetables. Weeks later, you'd have something that could sustain you through winter, something that kept you healthy, something that kept your digestive system strong. What's remarkable is that you could use any combination of vegetables. Root vegetables, leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables, herbs, spices. Each combination would create different bacterial strains and different nutrient profiles. This diversity was powerful. Your gut doesn't thrive on just one type of probiotic. It thrives on diversity. Different bacteria create different short-chain fatty acids. Different bacteria fight different pathogens. Different bacteria support different aspects of your health. When you eat fermented vegetables regularly, not just one type, but different ones over time, you're literally rewiring your microbiome. You're shifting the bacterial composition in your gut towards species that produce anti-inflammatory compounds. You're colonizing your gut with organisms that produce vitamins. You're creating an ecosystem that's resistant to pathogens. The traditional way was simple. You made what was available. You ate it with meals. You consumed a small amount daily. Over months and years, your health transformed. Modern science now confirms what traditional people knew through observation. Your gut bacteria influence your entire body. Dysbiosis, an imbalance in your gut bacteria, is linked to inflammation, poor immunity, metabolic dysfunction, depression, and accelerated aging. Regularly eating diverse fermented vegetables addresses this at the root. Here's what we've covered today: 15 different fermented foods, each one a doorway to different aspects of healing. But the deeper truth is simpler. For thousands of years, fermentation wasn't a health trend. It was a survival strategy. It was how people made food safe when they couldn't refrigerate. It was how they extended harvests through winters. It was how they prepared food in ways their bodies could actually utilize. And in doing so, they created a relationship with their food that modern people have completely lost. We think of food as fuel, calories to consume, macronutrients to track. But traditional cultures understood something different. Food is information. It's a conversation between your body and the living world. When you eat fermented food, you're not eating a dead product. You're eating something alive. Bacteria are alive in that food. Enzymes are active. Fermentation is still happening in your digestive tract after you eat it. You're literally introducing life into a system that modern food culture has been trying to kill with pesticides, antibiotics, ultra-processing, and heat treatment. The remarkable thing is that your body knows how to respond to this. It's been responding this way for millennia. It takes time, but it's profound. People who consistently eat fermented foods report things like better digestion within days, more stable energy throughout the day within weeks, clearer skin within months, better sleep quality, improved mood and mental clarity, fewer colds and illnesses, better ability to manage stress, slower aging. These aren't mysterious or magical. These are the logical outcomes of a healthier microbiome, better nutrient absorption, reduced systemic inflammation, and a stronger immune system. But here's the critical point. You have to actually do this. You can't just watch videos about fermented foods. You can't just understand the science intellectually. You have to consume them, regularly, over time. Start with one. Pick one that appeals to you. Maybe it's sauerkraut, maybe it's kombucha, maybe it's tempeh or miso. Consume a small amount daily. Pay attention to how you feel. Notice what changes. Give it time. Change in your microbiome takes weeks and months. You're rebuilding a living system. Then add another fermented food. Build diversity into your diet. After a few months, you'll feel the difference. Your digestion will be different. Your energy will be different. Your health will literally be different. This is the intelligence that ancient cultures possessed. This is what got forgotten the moment we invented refrigeration and industrial food processing. But it's not lost. It's right here. It's waiting to be remembered. The question is, what will you do with this knowledge? If you're ready to take your health into your own hands, not through expensive supplements or trendy protocols, but through food that's been healing humans for thousands of years, then the next step is to actually start. This week, commit to one fermented food. Buy it. Try it. See what happens. And in the comments, I want to hear from you. What fermented food are you going to start with? What changes do you expect to notice? If this resonated with you, if you're interested in reclaiming the old wisdom that modern medicine is only now rediscovering, subscribe to the channel. We're breaking down these forgotten traditions and ancient approaches, consistently the ones that actually work, backed by both history and modern science. Your body is waiting for this. Your gut is waiting for this. The question is whether you're ready to listen to what your ancestors already knew. We'll see you in the next one.